Hey, sorry, had a little bit of a technical difficulty, so I'm a few moments late. But thank you for joining me today for another episode of Casey at Night. Yes, thank you. Okay, so please forgive me because I had done some editing up in the front and apparently I goofed it up, and so I could not let you see my goof up because, like I said, it's a one-woman production going on over here, and I don't want to do anything to mess this up for today's authors. But first, I want to hopefully say welcome to Uncle Barrington. If you've been following on my timeline, I've been chatting with one of our guest authors, Uncle Barrington. So glad he's joining us, if he's joining us. I can't imagine that you've stayed up all this time and didn't join us. So I want to just say that right off the top, right at the very top of the show. If you joined me last week, our guest writer, author was Rico Knight. And he brought us three brides for one brother. And as I've been saying all week since then, he's greedy. Who needs 3 wives? That's nothing but a headache. But apparently this gentleman needed 3 wives. So I want to thank Rico again for letting me read from 3 Wives for One Brother. As I've been mentioning each week, I'm going to be doing this on Instagram soon. Sometime in the summer, I will be going live on Instagram. And if you're not following me on Instagram, and if you're not on Instagram, please get on Instagram and follow me at the Casey Carter Experience. Because it's going to be an experience. It's going to be different. I'm going to read on Instagram as well, but you're going to see more of my lifestyle, if you will. It'll be a bit more personal to me. So I want you to join me on Instagram at the Casey Carter Experience. And in the meantime, I want you to visit my website, CaseyCarterBooks.com. You can see all the books I have available. You can learn about the sexual rainbow. You can look at videos you haven't seen. And I apologize, I'm behind in terms of uploading to my site. But you can catch what you haven't seen from when we first got started. So now, that being said, in addition to going on Instagram this summer, I just released my first lesbian story, and that is Secrets. And just want to say I had this wonderful 8x11 poster of the book cover done, and you got to bear with me as I try to get this right on screen. So if you will, check it out on Amazon, Smashwords. Secrets. This is the story of what happens when your past collides with your present. How does it affect your future? Secrets, first installment in what will probably be 3 or 4 parts. I haven't decided just yet. It's done. I just haven't decided if I may add on some more. That's the problem with being a writer. It's never really done. You finish, but you're never really done. Okay, so if you recall, a few weeks back, I mentioned a company by the name of Wildfire had sent to me some of their product. This is personal lubricant, okay? So, and I was tickled because they sent full-size products. So here's what the bottle looks like, okay? And great little pump action, and it's what I liked about it is that it's all natural. I think you can kind of see that on my hands. All natural. It's very silky. What's great about it is, as you can see, I'm rubbing it in my hands because it's got a very unique smell. So they sell it as a 4-in-1 pleasure oil. It's a sensual lubricant, an intimate body massage oil, a nourishing body moisturizer, and a luxurious bath oil. Now, I have to admit, I recently was traveling and I actually put this on, and I'm not going to say that it attracted any attention, but it was kind of fun trying to see if I got different reactions or if I got an unusual reaction. And so, because it says it's infused with natural aphrodisiacs. Well, I can't say that I got anything that was unusual, because if you've ever traveled with me, and there's one of you on tonight who can attest to this, I usually kind of have people talk to me no matter where I go. So I can't say that if anybody stopped and talked to me that was an unusual occurrence for me, but it would be curious to see if you notice an additional attraction due to the natural aphrodisiacs. But in terms of the lubricant aspect of it, it was absolutely lovely. It didn't feel slippery, excessively slippery. It kind of melted right into the skin. I liked it quite a bit. So I would definitely recommend Wildfire, kind of an all-purpose, like I said, body moisturizer, bath oil, personal lubricant. It's really nice, and it's got a bit of a kind of a minty smell, not excessively strong, but nice, very nice. Now this little tube right here, it's like a heat-seeking bullet, a heat-generating bullet. It is a warming arousal oil, and again, it's got a little pump action to it. Oh, wait, okay. For some of you, this may be important. For some of you, this may not. But for me, this was important. This bottle is TSA approved. It is 3.6 ounces, meaning you can put it in your carry-on luggage. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So this little tube, warming arousal oil, and you little small tube. Let me tell you from my personal experience, 1 to 2 drops will do you. 1 drop is enough. 2 drops, you're insane. You don't even need 2 drops, but 1 drop is more than enough. It like the oil, it kind of has a, I don't know, kind of an elasticity to it, where once you put it on, it stretches itself out through the warmth of your own body, and it kind of, as they say, a little dab will do ya, and that's what I would say about this. Now, what I would also say about the warming oil, I've used one of those before, not this particular brand, but I've used one before. And did it get warm? Yes, it got warm. What's different about this and getting warm is my partner felt the heat. Okay, so needless to say, if he can feel the heat coming off of me, that says a lot about how warm it got. Very, all right, well, I'm gonna leave it at that. Very, very nice sensation. And again, Wildfire, they're not on Twitter that I could find them, but I will definitely post their website. I would definitely recommend trying them out. They've got a couple of different types, but I would recommend any of them. Okay, now, having gotten you warmed and lubed up, I want to get into tonight's guest. You may have noticed in my tweets that it's not one writer, it's 2. And one of them is a writer that we had already heard from, which is Marion Brook, and at Marion Brook, and tonight is her husband, Marcus. And they are as cute as punch. If you recall, when I read Marion's poem, it just happened to also be their 20th anniversary. And I thought it was so amazing that Marcus asked if I would read something of his. So it was my absolute pleasure to read, want to read something from a husband and wife team. So let me see if I can put this, put them on the screen together here. So Marion and Marcus. So tonight from Marcus, we're getting 1/3 of a story. And I say it that way because this particular event, experience, episode, if you will, is written in 3 parts. And I'm going to be reading Julia's version. And so before I begin, because you know me, once I get started reading, I forget to do some of the business end, which is I'm going to read Marcus's bio, and then we're going to hear about the 10 weeks by Julia. So, Marcus Brook is a poet and multi-genre author, writing in the areas from steampunk to political thriller. His romantic erotica adds an unusual blend of suspense, intrigue, and pulse-racing excitement to the genre, leaving the reader hot under the collar in more ways than one. Husband and partner to Marion Brook in writing and in life, the enduring romance and adventure of their relationship both echoes and leads his characters' own journeys, self-discovery, and liberation, giving them a stamp of true authenticity, unique in the genre. The engaging personalities and fascinating scenarios give his stories depth and breadth in their own right, but he doesn't wimp out when it gets to the steamy bits either. With beautifully detailed sex scenes that will take the reader to unexpected places and new heights, sometimes literally. Ooh. So, that's a little bit about Marcus. Now, I will say this. Marcus makes a point about talking about how the authenticity of the stories have a lot to do with their relationship, and I think any good writer always puts themselves on the page. Especially when you're writing something so personal and intimate, I think if you're not on the page in some way, shape, or form, it's kind of felt that there's something kind of missing. So I can appreciate that about Marcus and the way he describes his stories, because this 10 Weeks by Julia, it's just a little spicy, little sexy. I had such a good time reading it and promised him I would read the others. But here goes. Different people often perceive, remember, and interpret the same events in different ways. I'm writing this story 3 times from the 3 characters' separate perspectives and hopefully in styles appropriate to their personalities. So now remember, I said this is Julia's version of an event. There are other versions. So here we go. Julia says, "He's such a pretty boy. I like to look at him lying there asleep without a care in the world, flat on his back as usual, with his arms wrapped around the pillow above his head. Today, as on most days, I'm awake before him, and it gives me the opportunity to sit up in bed and just look without making him self-conscious. I like to study the shape of him, the color of his skin, the slight asymmetry that makes rather than mars his face, imbuing what might otherwise appear too cold with a hint of his quirky personality. I watch the flickering beneath his eyelids, the gentle heaving of his chest, the occasional twitch of those arms. And at about this time, every morning, the tent-like rise in the light summer duvet as his early morning erection gets into gear. There it goes. My admittedly short experience has taught me that he'll be awakening naturally in about 10 minutes. Time to move then. I've already been awake for about a half hour. I've always been a natural early riser, waking with the first lighting of the sky. I've never needed an alarm clock, which generally is a blessing, though it can make it hard to get over jet lag anywhere that doesn't have really thick curtains. The curtains here aren't bad in themselves, though plenty of light gets round the edges and through chinks here and there. There is one chink right now, at the top center where the curtains meet. The sun must have risen as it just lit up, casting a beam through the dust motes dancing in the air like a searchlight. It's hitting the wall, right above John's head, a little triangle of gold or an arrow pointing right at him. That gives me an idea. Can I pull it off? If I slip up, it will give the game away. But then again, it's pretty sure to blow his mind if it works. Worth a try. He's slow to wake anyway, so I'll probably get away with it as long as I can keep the sun out of his eyes. I stand right in the center of the window and open the curtains just a little. The dawn sun strikes my body, just clearing the horizon, but already there is heat in it, even this late in the year. I stand there for a few moments, naked in the sun. In my head, I know the windows are silvered and that virtually no one has a view, even if they were awake at this hour. But a lifetime of training screams at me to draw them closed. I resist the urge, then master it, and push the curtains open, quietly, carefully, as far as I can reach to the left and right. 6 feet of span and floor to ceiling open to the dawn with myself framed in it like Da Vinci's woman. I turn and see my own shadow cast on the floor, the wall, and right across John on the bed as intended. So far, so good. I walk towards the bed, down a path of darkness amid the sea of gold. Very poetic, very unlike me. I grasp the duvet and slowly, carefully pull it down and off. Oh my, what a sight. I'm already wet between the thighs at the thought of what I'm planning, but the sight of his firm, upright manhood just lifting itself clear of his chest, nodding slightly in time with his heartbeat, would do the trick if I wasn't. I reach down myself with my right hand and massage gently. I'm glad I shaved yesterday, and now I reach between and spread the wetness around my lips. I feel them swell as I do. No need to imagine much longer, but I slowly insert the middle 2 fingers and rub with my palm anyway. Just for a few moments, I think of Tennyson doing that, reaching round from behind as she pressed herself against me and kissed my neck, while John stroked my left breast with one hand and took my right between his lips. Only one of them here now. A pity in a way. I decide to stop dreaming. I'm here now, and I wouldn't have dared even dream of this a few weeks ago. I certainly couldn't have conceived it as even a remote possibility. Yet, here I am now, and I resolve to make the best of it, which is a very good place indeed, and not allow myself to be distracted by where I have been. Besides, I hope and expect to be going there again. I press into myself again. My breath catches. With these thoughts running through my head, I could come this way in no time at all, but I won't. I'll save it. I'm ready, and so clearly is he. I climb onto the bed, still careful to keep my shadow falling across his face. This isn't easy, but he's got his feet together, thankfully, so it isn't impossible. I crawl up and over him without touching. Then, when I'm positioned in the right place, I sink down to my knees and with a little help from my wet hand, slide his cock inside me. He's still asleep, but I feel him stiffen further on his own, filling me and pressing me forward. I resist gently but firmly, sitting back onto my heels and rocking there gently to feel it work inside me. John's eyes flicker faster for a few heartbeats, then open a crack. I don't make a sound, neither does he. But after a few moments, he reaches back and pushes the pillows into a ball to bring his head up a bit. I look at him, and he looks at me. I imagine I'm not showing much detail with the bright sunrise behind me, though I can see him perfectly well. I look into his eyes, now clearing as the sleep leaves. They begin at my face and slowly descend my body down to where we intersect. Then they slowly begin to ascend again, stopping here and there. His face is still expressionless, but I'm gratified to hear his breathing deepening a little and his cock responding too. His eye dwelled around my breasts for a few moments. I don't consider them my best feature. I've always thought them too small and hard, but John has shown clearly that he likes them. Given where his favors usually reside, I find that as a considerable compliment. His eyes slide higher still, dwelling around my neck, or maybe my chin, then ascending to my face. They aren't looking into my own eyes. I'm certain I'm just a silhouette from his viewpoint, but seem to trace the edges of my face. His expression becomes quizzical for a few moments, his eyes flickering up and left as if studying an internal list. Then it clears. I'm approaching orgasm, and I feel him swell a little more inside me. I feel myself grasp him and pull inside. His erection must be feeling the pressure now. However much I may like it, it's got to hurt being wrenched back like that. I lean over and take some weight on the headboard to relieve the pressure on him a little. I spread my legs wider and push harder and harder again, then lower myself a bit further to grind my mound into his. I push and push. I remember Tennyson again, kissing that first time, with her breast pressed to mine and her groin pressing into my midriff. We were both fully clothed then, yet it will live in my memory as one of the most erotic experiences of my life. Certainly the single most surprising, too. Then minutes later, both naked, she was kissing me again on the lips, then the breast, then the belly. Excuse me. Then down there in the dark, as John picked up the themes starting at the lips again. A groan escapes me. I'm learning to let go, but it still comes as a bit of a surprise at times. Another escapes. I struggle briefly with myself, then I manage to stop fighting and let them free. It comes easier each time. These two are doing me so much good, setting me free. I lean right down and kiss him at last. He holds my shoulders now, strong hands grasping and kneading in a way that reminds me of last Friday's massage. The remembered scent of almond oil coming unbidden to mind. Excuse me. Had that been before the sex or during, where the one might have stopped and the other started, I'm not really sure, nor do I care. The confronting scent of almonds overlays the memory of that evening like a warm blanket. I released the headboard and cupped the back of his head, pulling him into me at mouth and groin, wanting all of his tongue and penis at once. My breast caressed his chest. I'm close now, very close. I need his length. I rise again to grasp the headboard and push for all I'm worth, down and down. I feel him deep inside, as deep as I can push and grasp together. I'm aware of the sounds I'm making, but I pay no attention. I'm learning not to try to stop them, but to let them out. I'm succeeding today, able to listen to my cries like they are coming from someone else. He stopped sliding down the bed. Good. I press harder again, wanting every inch of him. He's rising to meet me, giving me the extra I'm looking for. I hear myself yell again, and my body takes over from the last conscious control. I let it, and I ride the Bronco faster and faster, harder and harder. Then I grasp and pull him inside and freeze. My whole body attention struck my G-spot and the end of his penis against it. I'm coming. I can feel my muscles brace throughout my body, quivering with tension. I squeeze inside for a second, 2, 3. Then we both cry out as we burst together, and again and again. I move again, grinding onto his cock, feeling the jet against the spot deep inside me, each spurt from him bringing another clench from me. Or is it the clench first? They happen together, so I can't really tell. Eventually, I feel us both starting to run down. I pull him out and back in slowly, keeping us going as long as I can. But the high of the orgasm is giving way. I settle back, sated for now. I relish the feel of John deep inside me. Despite all that, he's still hard, but I won't be greedy. The sun has moved around and is shining on his face now. When did that happen? Again, I catch the thoughtful expression. One day I'll nerve up and ask him what he's thinking about, but not today. Not today. I watch him in the bright light, the morning sun heating my back. I see his face before me, and I see Tennyson's alongside in it in my mind, and realize I love them both. Maybe it shows on my face as he smiles at me. I can't help responding in kind. I lean forward, and we kiss once again, long and slow. As we kiss, I wonder to myself how I got to be so lucky. The last few weeks have seemed like a blur to me, nothing but a mess of vague impressions and misordered events. I know I've been to work every weekday, and I know I've been able to do my job as well as usual, despite my own memories and John's occasional appearances serving to distract me. Yes, I know I've been to work, but right now I can't recall a single thing I've done there. It's as if that experience has been the province of a completely separate person who simply borrows my body when I'm not using it, when I'm not with John. That thought makes me pause, for I know this dream won't last forever. I love you. Do you know that? I ask. I can hardly get the words out for the lump in my throat, threatening to choke me. Suddenly, I'm almost close to tears. He reaches up and strokes my cheek. The absolute love in his eyes threatens to overwhelm me. Yes, he replies softly. He gently pulls me down to him and kisses me once again. And I love you too, he breathes, my dearest Julia. Okay, so I know this is Julia and John, but this could easily be Marcus and Marion. I'm just saying. You kind of can feel that he drew upon his connection to his wife, to his Marion, because it reads so easily, so naturally. Now, I have to also admit, I'm real curious about Miss Julia's background here, because there's these little indications that there's something going on with Miss Julia. So I definitely want you to follow Marcus so that you can read the other two stories so that we can all find out John's perspective, Tennyson's perspective, and maybe we can also find out what the deal is with Julia, because apparently this experience has left a mark on her that seems to be a bit outside her usual, and she's apparently enjoying the experience and begging for more. Now, as I said, I have a little piece from Marion. Now, if you recall, Marion was the poet I read a few weeks back. And in going through her pieces again, I wanted to find something that I thought was a good coupling to the 10 Weeks by Julia. So this piece is called Breathless. But before I get to Breathless, I want to read to you what she said about herself and Marcus. Partners in crime, partners in rhyme. Marion and Marcus are partners and lovers in the truest sense of the word. Proof that years of marriage, family, and work don't always have the power to kill that magic spark. A shared sense of values and a deep trust in love allow them the freedom to explore their own erotic stories within the context of everyday life. See what I'm saying? They're on an amazing journey together that has led them to all sorts of exciting places and challenged their understanding of the world. They write from experience, and their unique perspective as husband and wife allows them to deliver the goods, so to speak, from both sides of the coin. Perfect couple? No, never. But having a lot of fun along the way, exploring, discovering, and writing it down. Now, I read to you Marcus's bio, and I read Marion's bio the last time I read her story. But for those of you who are here for the first time, Marion Brook is an erotic adventuress, poet and author of the Linden Grove series. lover, wife, mother, daughter, sister. She's an ordinary woman with an exceptional tale. The need to write erotica authentically exposed her to an astonishing world of desire, of sexual freedom, temptation, and erotic quest. Not merely in the playgrounds of London, but lurking just under the skin of each and every one of us. Our own erotic stories symbolize who we are and what we allow ourselves to be. She found that awakening this story, questioning it, and even altering it can be radically empowering. Could sex be the key to happiness? Perhaps. Perhaps not. But it might just be a lot of fun finding out. Come join Marion in the Linden Grove. Meet the members of the club, delve into their lives, and explore their sexual stories. Take a journey, if you dare. One where you might discover a lot more than you expect. And again, I'm going to post Marion's information, where you can find Marion, how you can follow Marion. A lot of what she says in her bio, I absolutely agree. I think there is a lot to be said from what you can gain in really good sexual experiences. But we're going to have that conversation at another time. So anyway, this is Breathless by Marion. And she writes this in the front of it: that moment you've been anticipating. You close the door on the world and offer your lips to your lover. Breathe one another in. Tremble with promise. Oh, to have those fingers drawn along my skin, like a fire, blazing a trail of goosebumps in their wake. We stand on fire, fresh soap, cologne, and my own rose musk. My lust, laden and released to the room. Silent, I draw this in, enveloped in the blatant scent of my sex, and the heat from your skin. Still, I am unmoving. Lashes flutter down, but no, you prefer my desire on display. Heavy breath escapes me as pad of finger, ceaseless on its path, direct fire along my jaw. You bend to kiss me, now feather to my cheek. Your eyes, they promise more. Edge of fire, caught, breathless. Ah! Okay, I'm sorry. I absolutely love the way Marion and Marcus write. It is evident that they put themselves on these pages, and honestly, it's kind of hard to write the poetry like this, because I think from childhood you think of rhymes, like literal sing-songy rhymes. But what I love about her words is that there is an imagery to them. And the way she writes them, it's left up to interpretation how to read them. But there is no need to figure out what she's saying and what she means. And I absolutely love that about her work. She's mentioned that she's got short stories as well, but I have to admit, Marion, you get me with your poetry. I absolutely, absolutely love it. And I even had tried to sit down and do one of my own, and I just couldn't do what you do. And so I absolutely applaud you for being able to express that kind of desire in such short words. So here we've had a husband and wife team, where you can see the genuine connection, the love put on the page for one another and for their characters. And I want you guys to really get to know Marcus and Marion. Different, very sexy, very sensual erotica, which I just absolutely love. So again, thank you to Marion T. Brook, and her adorable husband, Marcus. And I also want to give a big thank you to Uncle Barrington, Marcus's Uncle Barrington. He gave me such a chuckle before I came on. That might even be part of why I was all messed up before getting on, because I was too busy giggling at the back and forth with Uncle Barrington. So now, coming up next week, I have been waiting for this. I patiently have been waiting for this. So several weeks ago, I read from the author Reed James. Wonderful story. But if you recall, I kept saying I wanted to read a Fuda story. I want to read a Fuda story. I need you to give me a Fuda story, Reed, because that's really how I got to know Reed. Reed is a part of a tweet group that I belong to. And in getting to know him, I went and looked at him up on Amazon. Reed puts out something, I don't know, like every 2-3 days. I'm amazed. I admire it. I hope to grow up one day and be able to put out something not even half as frequently. Just maybe every couple of months. But I read something called a Fuda story. Now, I got Reed to give me a Fuda story. Now, I want to give you the Urban Diction definition of Fuda. And the word is Japanese, and it's Fudanari. Also known as Fuda for short, is Japanese for hermaphrodite, or having the genitalia from both genders. It gets more interesting. Commonly found in hentai, which is anime porn. Fudanari usually depict women with excessively large male genitalia, ejaculating, get ready for this, massive amounts of semen, anywhere from pints to gallons. Now, when I read one of Reed's stories and it got to that moment in the story, I was like, seriously? Well, apparently, yes, that's all a part of the Fudanari, excuse me. And the vagina, remember I said it's like a hermaphrodite. So the vagina is usually located behind the penis, and they may or may not have scrotum. So, I know, sounds crazy, right? I'm sorry, he got me. Reed totally won me over with the Fuda stories. And so I am tickled pink to say that next week I will be reading my first Fuda massage is what it's called. I'm so excited. Now, I'm not going to say that this is something that everybody's going to like. I don't know. I'm not even saying that it's my cup of tea, but gosh darn it if I didn't get a big kick out of reading it. You know, sometimes you watch a show and you say to yourself, I don't know why I'm watching it. This is one of those things. You start reading it and you're like, oh my God, why am I reading this? And then you can't stop. And then you read another one and another one. I'm telling you, I don't know. I don't really care what else Reed writes. I'm all into his Fuda stuff. I'm into his Fuda stuff. It's just, it just boggles the mind. And he's a really good writer too. He makes it simple, easy to follow. It flows, so you don't have to go backwards and start all over again. So I'm really excited to be bringing you Reed's My First Fuda Massage. I don't care if you don't like it, you're gonna love it. I know that didn't make any sense, right? That's okay, trust me. You're gonna get all caught up and fascinated in his Fuda story like I did. I talk about it every chance I get because my mind is just, I love it. Oh, and speaking of which, so I was talking earlier this week about how this past weekend, my daughter graduated from high school. Family was in town, and I literally just went brain dead for the weekend. Sat out in the sun, drank way too much champagne with my sister, and when it came time to get back into the swing of things, I just, I was like, I was so slow to get myself going that I, felt like a total slacker. And it was ironic that Reed mentioned, and remember I said Reed is putting things out like every 2 to 3 days. He mentioned that, he's a slacker. And I'm like, I don't understand how somebody who puts a story out every 2 to 3 days can consider themselves a slacker. Well, apparently, writing is the thing that keeps him from being a slacker. Which, I got to tell you something, the power of writing, everybody who writes finds something unique that they embrace in the writing. Everybody writes for a reason. There's always something that gets them going, keeps them going. And it was actually really good motivation, if you will, to see someone who writes constantly says that they are a slacker. Because me, I've got a ton of stories started, half done, but I get distracted and move on to the next thing. Well, as he says, he's got these things in his head and he just has to get them out, which is why he's constantly writing. So for those of you who write and feel like you can't get it done, can't get it finished, there's one rule in writing that I think is really, really important, and that's write every day. Write every day. Read is the perfect example of write every day. If you go to his website, or if you go to him on Amazon, you will see it is just loaded with stories, and it'll have the dates of when the stories were released. Every couple of days, Reed has got something going. So when you find yourself liking the Fuda, and I know you will, he'll have a little something up there for you every day. Every day. So again, I want to thank Marion and Marcus. I want to thank Rico from last week. I want to thank Reed for next week. I want to remind you to visit me on my website, caseycarterbooks.com. I want to remind you about my most recent release, Secrets, available on Amazon, Smashword, coming soon. Let me see if I've got my coming soon. Coming soon after the release of all of the parts to Secrets will be The Big Date. And The Big Date is a standalone, but there are characters from The Big Date that are in Tribeca. So if you remember, I said that I like to have my characters kind of cross paths with each other to kind of keep the things interesting. So The Big Date has some characters that you will remember from Tribeca, and that will be later this summer. That's also a girl-on-girl story. So, before I forget, I am looking for writers. I picked up a couple more writers this week who agreed to let me read. So coming in the future will be Judy Kemp and Amber Sky. I look forward to reading them. Don't be surprised if you get a message from me saying, hey, can I read one of your stories? And if you don't get a message from me soon enough, feel free to reach out to me and, say, hey, Casey, do you mind reading a little something of mine? Because I actually get a big kick out of this. Marcus and Marion have me just kind of rambling right now, because between the wildfire and their stories and I think this is what I like about erotica, because you connect with something in the story that gets you going. And that's what's so sexy about erotica. It doesn't have to be wild and crazy. It can just be the right choice of words at the right pace, and that's all you need. So my friends, I want to thank you for joining me again this week. I want to thank Marcus and Marion for their husband and wife tag team tonight. And I want to thank Reed for agreeing to let me read Fuda and introducing it to all my friends. And I look forward to seeing you next week. As I like to say, I love you like a fat kid loves cake. Good night.